largest cryptocurrency theft in history.
What would be the largest?
In the largest crypto
The largest theft of its kind.
What was your reaction when you learned that it was North Korea behind the hack?
I kind of knew immediately when it happened because they were the most sophisticated and well-known hacker in the industry.
Yeah, it's a sinking feeling, I guess. I mean, this theft in one, instant more than doubled what they stole last year.
$1.5 billion gone.
The date is February 21st, 2025. Inside the headquarters of Bybit, one of the world's largest cryptocurrency exchanges, the air conditioning is humming a low, steady drone. It is a Tuesday morning in Dubai. Outside, the sun is baking the glass skyscrapers, but inside the server room, it is freezing cold. At desk 4B, a senior infrastructure engineer, let's call him David, is sitting with a cup of coffee that has just gone cold. David is not a careless man. He is the kind of person who tapes over his webcam. He uses 3 different hardware keys just to log into his email. He is one of the guardians of the vault, holding the digital keys to billions of dollars in user funds. He has undergone background checks, security clearances, and years of psychological vetting. He believes he is safe. He believes the fortress he built is impenetrable. But he doesn't know that the enemy is already inside. 3 weeks ago, David made a mistake. A very small, very human mistake. He replied to a message on LinkedIn. It was from a recruiter at a rival tech giant, a company everyone wants to work for. They were offering him a position that didn't just pay well, it paid life-changing money. A 40% salary bump, full remote work, stock options. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. The recruiter was professional. They had a verified profile. They had mutual connections. They sent him a PDF file titled official_offer_letter_2025.pdf. Just sign it and send it back, the recruiter had said. We want you on the team by Monday. David opened the PDF. On his screen, a document appeared. It looked perfect. It had the company logo, the signature of the CEO, the salary breakdown. David smiled, sipping his coffee, thinking about how he would tell his wife the good news that evening. But in the background, invisible to the naked eye, a piece of code had just executed. It wasn't a virus that crashes your computer. It didn't make a sound. It didn't trigger his antivirus. It was a beacon, a silent digital door that opened a tunnel from David's secure workstation in Dubai to a dark, smoke-filled room in Pyongyang, North Korea. For 3 weeks, the hackers waited. They didn't steal anything. They just watched. They watched his screen. They learned his habits. They learned that he takes his lunch break at 1 p.m. They learned that he keeps his password manager open on his second monitor. They studied the architecture of the exchange's cold wallet, the digital vault where the money is supposed to be untouchable. And then, on this Tuesday morning at 9:42 a.m., they struck. David is looking at his monitor when his mouse cursor begins to move. At first, he thinks he bumped the desk. He reaches out to grab the mouse to steady it, but the cursor fights back. It jerks across the screen with robotic precision. He watches in horror as his computer opens the administration panel. He tries to type, to hit Ctrl+Alt+Delete, but his keyboard is dead. He tries to pull the power cord, but his hands are shaking, and the connector is screwed in tight. On the screen, a command line terminal opens. Text begins to scroll faster than he can read. Access granted, initiating transfer, bypassing multisig. In the span of 10 minutes, $1.5 billion in Ethereum is drained from the exchange. It doesn't go to a bank. It doesn't go to a bag of cash. It vanishes into the blockchain, split into thousands of tiny transactions, swirling through a digital tornado designed to make it untraceable. David sits back in his chair, the silence of the office now deafening. He is hyperventilating. He knows in that moment that his life is over. But this wasn't just a robbery. This wasn't a lone wolf hacker in a basement trying to buy a Lamborghini. This was a military operation. You see, we have a specific image of North Korea. We picture the Hermit Kingdom. We picture a country stuck in the 1950s. Starving citizens, rusting tractors, and military parades with missiles made of papier-mâché. We laugh at their propaganda videos. We dismiss them as a relic of the past. But while we were laughing, they were building something else. They built an army. Not of soldiers with rifles, but of math geniuses with keyboards. They created a division of state-sponsored hackers with one singular mission: to steal enough money to fund a nuclear missile program that could wipe major cities off the map. And they are winning. This is the story of the Lazarus Group. This is the story of how a country with no internet became the world's greatest cyber thief. And it is the story of how they stole $1.5 billion without ever leaving their chairs. To understand how a country with almost no electricity pulls off the most sophisticated bank heists in history, we have to go back to the darkest period in North Korean history, the 1990s. They call it the Arduous March. The Soviet Union had collapsed, the aid money stopped flowing, and the country began to starve. The economy completely disintegrated. The regime realized a terrifying truth. They could not afford a conventional war. They couldn't build enough tanks or jets to match the United States or South Korea. A single American aircraft carrier cost more than North Korea's entire GDP. They needed a weapon that was cheap, invisible, and devastating. Kim Jong-il, the father of the current leader, issued a directive. He said, "Warfare in the 21st century is about information." He ordered the creation of Bureau 121. This wasn't just a military unit, it was an academic experiment. The regime began to scour the country for children who showed exceptional talent in mathematics. Imagine being a 10-year-old boy in a rural village. You are hungry, your clothes are worn. But one day, a government official comes to your school. He gives you a test. It's a logic puzzle. You solve it faster than anyone else. The next day, you are taken from your family. You are put on a train to Pyongyang. You are enrolled in the Kumsong Middle School. It is a place of privilege. You get 3 meals a day. You get meat. You get electricity that never cuts out. But in exchange, you belong to the state. While other children are learning about the glory of the great leader, you are learning C++. You are learning Python. You are dissecting the architecture of the SWIFT banking system and the encryption protocols of the Ethereum blockchain. You are told every single day that you are a cyber warrior. Your keyboard is your gun. Your code is your bullet. By the time you are 18, you are sent to the University of Automation. This university doesn't appear on tourist maps. It is hidden behind high walls and barbed wire. Here, you spend 5 years doing one thing: simulating attacks on Western infrastructure. You attack mock-ups of South Korean banks. You breach simulated US power grids. You practice stealing digital assets in a closed-loop internet that mirrors the real world. And the best of the best? The top 1% of graduates, they get the ultimate reward. They get to leave North Korea. This is the first twist in the story. You assume these attacks come from inside Pyongyang, but they rarely do. The internet connection in North Korea is too slow, and all traffic funnels through a single pipeline into China, making it incredibly easy to trace. So, the regime exports its hackers. They are sent to hacking cells in China, Russia, Malaysia, and parts of Southeast Asia. Imagine a cheap hotel in Shenyang, China. On the 3rd floor, there is a corridor that is off limits to regular guests. The windows are blacked out. Inside, the air is thick with cigarette smoke. There are 20 young North Korean men living in this room. They wear tracksuits. They drink Red Bull by the case. They sit in front of 6 monitor setups that would make a Wall Street trader jealous. They live a strange, dual existence. Compared to their families back home, they are living like kings. They have air conditioning. They can watch YouTube. They can play video games like Counter-Strike. They can eat takeout, but they are also prisoners. They are never allowed to leave the hotel alone. They must move in pairs, monitoring each other. Every week, they have self-criticism sessions where they must confess their impure thoughts to the group. And the leverage? Their families. When a hacker is sent abroad, his parents, his wife, and his children remain in Pyongyang. They are the collateral. If the hacker tries to defect, if he runs away to the American embassy, his family will be sent to a political prison camp. They will disappear. So, they hack. They hack for their lives. They work in shifts, 16 hours a day, and they have quotas. Each team is expected to generate millions of dollars in cash per year. If they miss their quota, they are recalled to Pyongyang to face punishment. This pressure cooker environment created the Lazarus Group. They started with simple credit card fraud. Then they moved to robbing central banks, like the famous Bangladesh bank heist, where they tried to steal $1 billion. But banks are hard to rob. Banks have slow processes. Banks can reverse transactions. Banks have humans checking the wires. Then, around 2017, the Lazarus Group discovered a new playground. A playground with billions of dollars, almost no regulation, and transactions that cannot be reversed. Cryptocurrency. It was the perfect target. It was anonymous. It was fast. And the people running it were often arrogant tech bros who thought they were too smart to be hacked. North Korea had found its gold mine, and they were about to bring the biggest shovel in history. Let's go back to David, the engineer who lost $1.5 billion. The question everyone asks is, how? How do you trick a senior security engineer? This is a guy who knows what a phishing email looks like. He knows not to click on suspicious links. The answer is terrifying. You don't hack the computer, you hack the human. The Lazarus Group runs a campaign that intelligence agencies call Operation Dream Job. It is a psychological masterpiece because it targets the one vulnerability that no firewall can patch: ego. They know that developers are ambitious. They know that everyone wants a higher salary. And they know that the tech world runs on LinkedIn. The hackers create fake profiles. And I don't mean a profile with a blurry photo and no connections. These profiles are works of art. They steal the identities of real recruiters. They copy the branding of real companies: Google, Meta, Coinbase, or hot new AI startups. They build a network of 500+ connections to make the profile look legitimate. They post articles about Web3 trends and AI development to build credibility. When they found David, they didn't just send a spam message. They romanced him. They messaged him, "Hey David, I saw your talk at the Ethereum conference last year. Brilliant stuff on smart contract optimization. We're building a new exchange architecture and we need someone with your specific brain." Flattery. It opens the door. It lowers the defenses, David replied. They chatted for a week. They talked about coding challenges. The recruiter knew the technical jargon perfectly. Why? Because the person chatting with David wasn't just a recruiter. He was a master coder from Bureau 121, sitting in that hotel room in China, translating everything through ChatGPT to make his English sound perfect. Then came the interview process. They did video calls. And this is where the technology gets sci-fi. Recent reports from the FBI have shown that North Korean operatives are using deepfake AI to alter their faces and voices in real time during interviews. A North Korean man sitting in a dark room can look and sound like a 35-year-old HR manager from San Francisco named Jason. The lips move perfectly. The lighting looks real. David thought he was talking to a peer. He was talking to a ghost. David passed the interviews. He was excited. Then came the coding challenge. "We need to see how you handle our specific stack," the recruiter said. "Download this repository, run the code, and fix the bug." David downloaded the file. He was a security guy. He scanned it with his antivirus. It came back clean. Why? Because the virus wasn't in the code yet. This is a technique called the Trojan loader. The software David downloaded was a legitimate-looking cryptocurrency trading app. It really worked. It had buttons, charts, and data feeds. David ran it. He started debugging it, but the moment he executed the program, the software reached out to a command and control server. It didn't download a virus immediately. It waited. It waited for David to be asleep. It checked to make sure no analysis tools were running. Then, slowly, packet by packet, it downloaded the payload. It's called a remote access Trojan, or RAT. In seconds, the hackers had root access. They could see his screen. They could log his keystrokes. They could turn on his webcam, but they didn't steal anything yet. This is what separates the Lazarus Group from common criminals. They have patience. They watched David for weeks. They watched him type his password for the company VPN. Click, click, click. Noted. They watched him open his password manager. Click, click. Noted. They waited for the specific day when the Bybit exchange moved funds between wallets. They needed the moment when the cold wallet, offline, was connected to the hot wallet, online, for rebalancing. That Tuesday morning at 9:42 a.m. was the window of opportunity. David was just the key. They turned him, and the door swung open. The actual theft is a blur of automated chaos. At 9:42 a.m., the script activates. On the blockchain, money is just data. It's an entry on a ledger that says, address A owns 1,000 coins. To move it, you need a digital signature, a private key. Usually, for a wallet holding $1.5 billion, you need multiple keys. It's called multisig. It's like a nuclear launch sequence. You need 5 out of 9 keys to approve a transaction. David held 1 key. But the hackers were thorough. They hadn't just targeted David. Over the last 6 months, they had compromised 4 other employees at Bybit using the exact same dream job tactic. A developer in Singapore, a compliance officer in London, a manager in Tokyo. They had been sleeping in all 5 systems, waiting for the signal. At 9:43 a.m., 5 compromised computers across the world simultaneously woke up. They all initiated the signing protocol. The Bybit security algorithm screamed. Red lights flashed on the dashboard in the Security Operations Center. Anomalous outflow detected! The security team scrambled. They tried to initiate the kill switch, a protocol that freezes all withdrawals, but the hackers were faster. They had already anticipated the kill switch. They launched a denial of service, DDoS, attack on the internal admin panel. The security team clicked freeze, but the button didn't work. The server was flooded with junk traffic. They were locked out of their own bank. At 9:45 a.m., the transaction was broadcast to the Ethereum network. Sender, Bybit Vault. Receiver, 0x93, the hacker's wallet. Amount, 450,000 Ethereum. Value, 1.5 billion US dollars. By 9:50 a.m., the block was finalized. The money was gone. David sat in his chair, staring at a screen that was no longer under his control. The text on the terminal simply read, "Connection terminated." Panic erupted in the office. People were shouting. Phone calls were made to the CEO. But in the world of crypto, there is no undo button. You cannot call the Federal Reserve. You cannot reverse the wire. Code is law. And the law had just been used to commit the greatest robbery of the 21st century. But stealing the money is only half the battle. Imagine stealing the Mona Lisa. It's worth millions, but you can't sell it. Everyone is looking for it. If you walk into a pawn shop with the Mona Lisa, you get arrested immediately. The Lazarus Group now had $1.5 billion in marked bills. Every exchange in the world blacklisted their address within minutes. If they tried to send that Ethereum to Coinbase or Binance to cash out, the funds would be frozen instantly. So, how do you wash $1.5 billion while the FBI, Interpol, and every security firm on Earth is watching you? You use a laundromat. The Lazarus Group doesn't use bags of cash. They use mixers. For years, their favorite tool was a piece of software called Tornado Cash. Imagine a giant digital pot. Thousands of people throw their coins into the pot. The pot shakes them up, mixes them around, and then lets you withdraw the same amount you put in, but these are different coins. The link between the sender and the receiver is broken. The hackers took the $1.5 billion and started breaking it down. They couldn't send it all at once. That would be too obvious. They wrote scripts to automate the laundering. Step 1. Split the $1.5 billion into chunks of 100 Ethereum. Step 2. Send each chunk into a mixer. They used Tornado Cash until it was sanctioned, then moved to a service called Sinbad, and later to shady mixers hosted on the dark web. Step 3. Wait 24 hours. Step 4. Withdraw to a brand new, clean wallet. But they didn't stop there. This is where it gets dizzying. They used a technique called peel chaining. They took the money and passed it through thousands of different wallets, peeling off small amounts at each step. It creates a web of transactions so complex that visualization software crashes trying to map it. Then came the chain hopping. They swapped the Ethereum for Bitcoin. Then they swapped the Bitcoin for Monero, a privacy coin. Then they swapped the Monero for Tether, a stablecoin. They moved the money across different blockchains, from Ethereum to Avalanche, from Avalanche to Tron. It's like a bank robber running through a crowd, changing his shirt, putting on a wig, changing his shoes, jumping into a taxi, then a subway, then a boat. But eventually, they need real money. You can't buy missile parts with Ethereum. You need US dollars or Chinese yuan. But the story gets worse. The heist of $1.5 billion was a blockbuster event. But North Korea realized that relying on big heists is risky. Sometimes you get caught. Sometimes the exchanges improve their security. They needed a steady income, a salary. So they launched their most audacious scam yet. A scam that is likely happening in your company right now. It's called the shadow workforce. Remember the skilled hackers at the University of Automation? Not all of them joined the Lazarus Group to rob banks. Some of them joined the IT worker division. Here is the scam. North Korea creates thousands of fake identities. They steal the passports of real Americans. They use AI to generate profile pictures. They create fake GitHub histories. They apply for remote jobs at Western tech companies. They apply to be freelance React developers, Python engineers, blockchain support staff. They ask for $150,000 a year, and they are good. They pass the coding tests. they interview well. But wait, how do they log in? If a US company sees an IP address from North Korea or China, they will block it. They need a mule inside the United States. Let me tell you about Christina Marie Chapman. She was a woman living in Litchfield Park, Arizona. To her neighbors, she was just a regular person. But inside her house, in her living room, she was running a laptop farm. In August 2025, she was sentenced to prison. When the FBI raided her home, they found racks of laptops. Dozens of them, all open, all turned on. Here is how it worked. The North Korean hackers would get hired by a US company. The company would say, "Great, we are sending you a company laptop. What is your address?" The hacker would give Christina's address in Arizona. Christina would receive the laptop. She would open it, turn it on, and connect it to her Wi-Fi. Then she would install a remote desktop program. The hacker in North Korea would log into the laptop in Arizona. To the company's IT department, it looked like their employee was working from a house in Litchfield Park. The GPS data matched. The IP address matched. But the person typing the code was 6,000 miles away. Christina was paid a monthly fee for every laptop she hosted. She helped them wash millions of dollars. Another man, Matthew Isaac Newt in Nashville, Tennessee, did the same thing. He was running a laptop farm that funneled hundreds of thousands of dollars to the North Korean weapons program. These workers collect the paycheck, $10,000 a month. They keep $1,000 for living expenses. They send $9,000 back to the regime. The FBI estimates there are thousands of these workers currently employed in US tech firms. They are in the Fortune 500. They are in crypto startups. They are in AI labs. And it's not just about the salary. While Steven is working for you, he is also planting back doors. He is the spy inside the castle walls. If the company ever fires him, or if the regime needs a quick injection of cash, Steven activates the ransomware. He locks the company's database and demands payment. It is the perfect crime. The victim pays the criminal a salary to hack them. We are entering a new era of warfare. For decades, we thought wars were fought with tanks and planes. We thought security meant borders, barbed wire, and aircraft carriers. But North Korea has proven that you can bring a superpower to its knees without ever firing a shot. They have stolen an estimated $6 billion in cryptocurrency over the last few years. That is more than their entire nation's annual export revenue. Think about that. Their hacking division is more profitable than their coal mines, their factories, and their fishing fleets combined. Hacking isn't a side hustle for North Korea. It is the pillar of their economy. It is the only reason the regime is still standing. It is the only reason they can afford to build nuclear weapons while their people starve. The $1.5 billion Bybit heist wasn't just a crime. It was a lesson. It taught us that in the digital world, there are no borders. A kid in a tracksuit in a hotel room in Shenyang can reach into a skyscraper in Dubai or a home office in Arizona and alter the course of history. David, the engineer, lost his job. The users of the exchange got their money back from an insurance fund, eventually. The news cycle moved on. But in Pyongyang, the centrifuges are spinning a little faster, the rockets are getting a little bigger, and somewhere on LinkedIn, right now, a recruiter is typing a message to a developer. "Hey, I saw your profile. I have an amazing opportunity for you." The scariest part about this story isn't the money. It's the fact that we are all connected to the same battlefield. Your laptop, your crypto wallet, your company's Slack channel. These are the front lines of a modern geopolitical war. We tend to think of history as something that happens in the past, but right now we are living through the first true cyber war. These are the stories that often go untold, buried under technical jargon or ignored by the mainstream news. But I believe you deserve to know what is really happening behind the screens. If you found this investigation valuable, or if it made you look at your computer a little differently today, please do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps the algorithm share this information with more people who need to see it. And if you want to join us for the next deep dive, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. The digital world is getting darker, and we are here to shine a light on it. Stay safe, stay paranoid, and I'll see you in the next one.